60 minutes of soccer. The Sporting JAX Soccer Hour. Here are your hosts Cole Pepper, Mauricio Ruiz, and Becky Burleigh.
We welcome you into the Sporting JAX Soccer Hour, along with Mauricio Ruiz, who will join us by phone right now as he jet sets around the country scouting for the most valuable and up-and-coming soccer talent. And Becky Burleigh, who will join us here in just a bit. We do have a lot to get to this week. So much going on in the world of soccer, as it seems like it's happening every time we crack a microphone here each week on the Sporting JAX Soccer Hour. We've got the Euros underway now, including already at least one upset. France in action today. The betting favorites not as impressive as they would have liked to have been the first time out. We've got all kinds of events coming up here in the coming months involving soccer. The U.S. men's national team preparing for the Copa America. Great youth soccer in our area. We have a lot of it, so let's get right to it as we bring in Mauricio Ruiz. Mal, give us an update. Where are you? Where do we join you now?
Yeah, how we're doing? Sorry that I am not there in studio with you, but glad that I can join remote. That's the beauty of nowadays, right? We can still participate and we can still be a part of it. So I'm in Nashville. I am currently scouting for the U.S. soccer youth national teams, looking for the next generation of national team players, which is a wonderful exercise in a fraternity of scouts and managers that are really just focused on not just, good talent, but top talent that will be coming through our national team programs, the U15s, all the way up through the U20, in U23 Olympics. So we have some influence in that, but really focusing on the from U20 down to U15.
Yeah, great. It's a great opportunity for us to be able to pick your brain about those things, and obviously you're continuing to kind of scour the landscape for the next soccer stars. Let's talk a little bit about what's cooking with Sporting JAX, because right now, soccer watch parties lined up for Copa America. That's coming up. We've got a lot of interest that has come in from around the world. I just had an email the other day from somebody from Argentina wanting to inquire to know more about what Sporting JAX is all about. So let me just say that in the next several months, there are going to be some big announcements coming from Sporting JAX, and right now all that groundwork is continuing to be laid for those big announcements, and we look forward to being able to unveil those here and elsewhere on what's happening with Sporting JAX. But for the immediate future, the big thing is the opportunity for some watch parties around the Copa America. We'll be at Grace Note Brewing for the first three group stage games for the United States as they launch into Copa America. And we'll tell you more about that and your opportunity to get buy one, get one free beers there, by the way. It's a good deal. We'll let you know how you can do that. But, Mauricio, the interest in what's happening in the world of soccer right now around Jacksonville just continues to ramp up as the summer goes on.
Yeah, it really does. And, that's kind of, outside of my role and with what I'm doing here, I mean, I'm really around a lot of just different soccer brains and soccer people, from pros to youth and agents and some international folks that are actually at events like this. So, this event is an event that happens for all week long. There's a playoff here for youth national from U15, U14 all the way to U19. So you have scouts from different clubs trying to, professional clubs looking at players from non-professional clubs, but you have these international scouts that are looking for players to potentially go overseas. And, as I introduce myself to different folks and have conversations, the interest around what's happening in American soccer in general is high. And there's a lot of intrigue and really a lot of curiosity, I would say, on what's happening in the USL. I think the international game knows quite well what the MLS brand, brings. And obviously Messi brought a lot of attention to it. But there's a lot of intrigue and curiosity on what's happening around the USL and the opportunity to really make the USL a more global league, more affiliated with the international market, and how international clubs are having interest to use the USL and to partner with the USL for discovery of players, talent identification, partnerships, global, exchanges. And so I'm getting, really hounded and getting a lot of good conversations here on Sporting JAX specifically, because the Jacksonville, Florida market is really attractive for the international market when it comes to identifying talent, bringing in some Central and South American talent, and really having a bit of a bridge into the European market. So it's been some really good, healthy conversations, and we can't wait, from a local standpoint, to be able to make some of these announcements.
Yeah, it is interesting if you think about just from a logistics standpoint, between getting to South America and getting to Europe, Jacksonville's in a pretty good position, to have those kind of exchanges with clubs in those two continents. You mentioned you're talking about talent exchanges. Let's just talk about how something like that works with professional teams in different countries and what that might look like down the road from a USL championship standpoint.
Well, absolutely. So, European clubs are looking to, especially if you look at this, South America. I mean, they just have an abundance of talent. Central America, an abundance of untapped talent, if you would. So the European market, which is where the money is, and really the bigger opportunities, they have their eyes and ears open into the South American, Central America market. And then in the North America, it's becoming a legitimate leagues like the MLS, the USL Championship. You got League One kind of coming underneath, and really the quality level. So the ability for agents and scouts to look at Central and South American players and present them and as an opportunity for them to play in a USL, and then us being now the bridge and the opportunity where European clubs can look at the American market, American ownership, American coordinators and directors as a better viewpoint. Language barrier is a little bit better. The economics function a little bit better. There's a little more of the known of what happens here versus the unknown of what happens in some of the smaller countries in these regions that I'm referring to. So as we become a club within the USL, and that's already happening in the USL to a certain extent, but as you mentioned, really our location is prime. As we become a club that we can identify not only local talent, but if you look at the Caribbean, Central America as part of our local network in South America, and the ability for those players, those young talented players, to play for our club for a couple of years, and then us having the relationship in Europe to exchange those players and sell those players into European, clubs, that gives us an opportunity to really nurture and develop our local players here and have those relationships for them to also be seen and train and spend some time in the European and even South American big clubs like Boca Juniors and River Plate and Flamengo, Corinthians. They're looking at the American market as well, not only from a talent standpoint, but from a marketability standpoint. We know that commercially, U.S. soccer and U.S. soccer fans really consume a lot from products and trips, and so all of a sudden, if you have an American player that's playing in one of these large clubs in South America, if there are players that we see now playing in European clubs, it's just a great opportunity for player identification and talent identification, but also from a marketability and the globalization of the brand. So yeah, we're super engaged with that, and we really want to provide our local players opportunities within our club here locally to play professionally, but to be a trampoline club where they can now have the visibility to play at the international level.
It's sort of, we use the phrase pathway to the pros, and sometimes that's the case in terms of local players getting an opportunity to showcase themselves and get to a professional level and move on to bigger clubs. Sometimes it's, as you mentioned, it is a springboard for some players who just need the opportunity. If you're a young player playing at the academy level, upper academy level in England, let's say, for a Premier League or Championship level team, but you're not getting any time on the field, and your best bet maybe is a reserve team for a Premier League or Championship side. What's more valuable, that or being able to play with the USL Championship team, playing at the second highest level in the United States, playing every match, getting the minutes? It benefits both the European club and the USL Championship club to have that sort of arrangement going on. So that's something we'll be talking about more as we continue on down the line with the developments around Sporting JAX. I do want to mention that in the USL, the national broadcast picture continues. On Wednesday night, Pittsburgh Riverhounds will take on Louisville City at 7:30 on CBS Sports Network. And then the first ESPN2 games of the season are Saturday, June the 22nd. So for those who have not heard the previous shows or aren't aware, the USL Championship has two national TV broadcast partners, ESPN and CBS. A few of the games wind up on CBS, quite a few on CBS Sports Network, then the rest of them on Golazo or on ESPN Plus, or the games that wind up on ESPN2, and there'll be two of them, a doubleheader this Saturday, starting with Monterey Bay against the Oakland Roots. And it is something when you start talking about, and soccer fans know this, but maybe if there are those who are casual soccer fans right now who maybe follow and watch the U.S. men's national team or the women's national team, or maybe they have a Premier League club, they may or may not think about this, but there are a lot of leagues where it's very difficult to find where a particular game might be, or they may be very dispersed out, or if you're a fan of a team that winds up playing in the Champions League or Europa League or something like that, you never know where you might find them. That is a challenge right now in the world of soccer, but the other flip side of this is, Mauricio, there are so many broadcast outlets that want a piece of American soccer, and that's what we're seeing right now with the USL Championship. And this past week, the USL Super League, the Women's League, announced a partnership with Peacock, where every game will be streamed on Peacock in the upcoming season. So it just sort of adds to the next level of that, and we'll talk more about that with Becky Burleigh. But finding where those games are is one thing. The fact that they are accessible is it just shows the growth of the game in this country.
Yeah, it really does, and I love the vision of what the USL are doing with the championship and the Super League, and really to kind of spread the brand of the league itself, and not to just kind of corner itself with one provider and one means of streaming or one method of watching. The fact that now the Super League is going to be, or the USL in general as a league, will be accessible in various different outlets. It's sharing the love and really putting themselves into a market where if you're a Peacock watcher, you're going to be able to see the USL brand, and there'll be some cross promotion, even though that's going to be a Super League, method of stream. There's going to be some Championship and League One, partnerships in there. There's going to be some commercials that you'll be able to also understand where to find those games. And then you have the Championship on CBS. You also have it on ESPN. So, all of us are kind of consumer habit. Typically, we're either a Paramount Plus watcher or ESPN or Peacock or Apple TV. I think the USL kind of took a step backward and said, how do we get into all of those, right? Or as many of those as possible. And now CBS, ESPN, Peacock, local TV broadcast as well, which is something that you cannot get from some of the other American soccer leagues. So if you're still a traditional cable watcher, you get that through CBS. If you are a streamer through ESPN, and that's where you catch most of your sports, the USL Championship's in there. And if you are an EPL watcher in Peacock, you're going to be able to get some USL league play there as well. So I think that's a really smart decision from the league in general to spread the landscape of where you can watch the games. It's
a great point you make. I typically wind up watching Premier League just on linear NBC or USA when it pops up there. And I don't have one specific Premier League team that I follow. I just like to follow the competition, like to see the storylines develop, year to year, and they're different every year sometimes. And so to watch, to know that that there are Premier League fans out there who only watch it via Peacock because they just stream, and that's their only way. The cord cutters, quote unquote. Now that means that whole soccer audience is going to have the opportunity.
And no name calling needed here.
I wouldn't. I'm not name. Listen, it's however you want to consume your stuff. I get it. It's expensive. It had the. I have I have the cable package, plus I have the other streaming packages. We are super consumers of television. There's no doubt about that in the Pepper household. You have a couple of kids, and all of a sudden it becomes a necessity in some ways. But the fact that you have Premier League fans who are going to be in this country watching for the Premier League, who already have habitually gone to Peacock to watch what's happening there for soccer, now they'll have the chance to be exposed to USL Super League. We'll talk more about that with Becky next segment when she joins us. I do want to let you know right now of a contest that we are holding, and an opportunity for you to see a couple of Premier League teams play right here in Jacksonville on July the 27th. West Ham and Wolves will face one another at Everbank Stadium, and you can win a pair of tickets to that matchup. All you have to do is email us at contest@sportingjax.com, contest@sportingjax.com, with who scores the first goal for England in their Euro match against Denmark on Thursday. Again, that's contest@sportingjax.com. Last week we did this for the U.S. men's national team against Brazil. We're going to talk about that game in just a moment. I picked Christian Pulisic, who scored the only goal for the U.S., so I would have been a winner had I only been eligible, Mauricio. Let's talk about this one, though. England versus Denmark. Not a spectacular debut for England in the Euros. They did win 1-0, but it wasn't the crispest performance. What are you expecting for England going forward, and who would be your pick to be the first goal scorer in the match against Denmark?
Yeah, I think that's a tough matchup. A lot of the Danish players are playing in the Premier League, so I don't think that they are necessarily fazed by the fact that they're playing against England. A lot of them are teammates of some of the top Premier League teams as well, or they see those guys, week in and week out. So I think it's a tough matchup, and you have a lot of senior level players on the Denmark side, and I think they're going to make the game for England really difficult. If you're in England, if you're choosing if Harry Kane is on the field and you're going to ask who's going to score first, I think 9 out of 10 times my money will go on Harry Kane, just because he's just such a good scorer, and the fact that he didn't get on the scoreboard in that game, I'll put my money on him. I just think that he's at the prime of his game, had a great year, in Germany and the Euro Cup. It could be potentially his last. I know he's still got some legs to him, but this could potentially be his swan song in the Euros. So I would like to see him. I think he's such a classy player. I'd love to see him have a really good World Cup. But it's tough not to root for Denmark and what happened 3 years ago with Eriksen.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty much heart failure on the field,
Thought he was dead on the pitch.
fact that he scored. Yeah, he was right. Eventually, he was, and so the fact that he actually got the first goal in the first Denmark game. I know they came up with the tie. But what a great story, and I think that's a win on its own.
All right, I think that is right now the story of the Euros so far. There will probably be more, but you're right. And a guy who didn't have a great season in terms of his Premier League campaign, but has been terrific for Denmark. Jude Bellingham scored the first goal for England, the only goal for England in their opener. I'm going to go with Phil Foden as my goal scorer here, though, Mauricio. I think a lot of attention is going to be paid to Harry Kane. I think it's going to open up an opportunity for Foden to get in there. So I'm going to go with Foden as my goal scorer in this one. We will see what happens. The big story in soccer, at least in the United States, is certainly the bounce back for the U.S. after the 5-1 loss to Colombia. A 1-1 draw with Brazil, as our friend Tony Allegretti said on the Sporting Pod, a 1-1 win for the United States against Brazil. You were down there in Orlando at that match. Now that you've had a couple of days to digest it, what do you think?
Yeah, and I'm actually around quite a bit of people here with some direct ties to that game with U.S. Soccer Federation, and they've had some kind of behind-the-scenes conversation, and they've been able to give me some more insight. Yeah, I think it was seen as a very positive performance, and I think that was the biggest thing that Greg Berhalter said after the Colombia game, is that going against Brazil, do we bounce back? Can we focus on a performance that we can hang our heads on as we go into Copa America? And I think you could say that. I think it was a tale of two different halves. Really, the game after halftime, being 1-1, both teams took their foot off the pedal a little bit. You really became more of a the game, the goals, the chances in the second half, and there were a few really came off of transitional moments for the U.S. I do think the U.S. played better when they're the underdog, and going into the Colombia game, felt like they belonged. And not to say that the U.S. doesn't belong, especially playing at home against a Colombia team that's really hot. I mean, they haven't lost in 21 games now, a streak of 21 games. So you're playing against a really, really strong Colombia team, and maybe as U.S. versus Colombia, as a U.S. player, you feel like you should get the best out of it. But it's different times all over the world, and I think the U.S. plays better when they have something to prove and they're the underdog. And that's how they went into the game against Brazil. They really play in a more in a lower block, made it difficult for Brazil to break them down. Matt Turner still had 11 saves, which is the most saves in U.S. soccer history since Tim did in the World Cup.
Yeah, Tim Howard,
a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tim Howard did in the World Cup a few years back, and so still a lot to say. Okay, yeah, you played a defensive block, you still give up too many chances. Well, Matt Turner had to make a lot of saves, but to be fair, they were kind of safe saves, if you could say that. He made tons of tremendous. I mean, I remember that game with Tim Howard against Belgium where he made what? How many saves was that? Like
16
saves?
Yeah, 16.
16 saves in one game. I mean, he was on his head most of the game, making saves. You felt like he had like 4 different arms going at the same time. That wasn't the case with Matt Turner in this game. I mean, there were kind of routine saves and there were good saves, but I think the U.S. took a lot away from Brazil and made it difficult for them to break them down. At about 20 minutes left in the game, both teams just took the foot off the pedal, and it became a little pedestrian, if you would. At times, it's a preparation game. Both teams understood what they're doing there. And so I thought it was a valiant performance from the U.S. They braved it out. Good performance from Pulisic. Good performance from Team Weah. We're still missing a 9, a performance from number 9. I thought Pepe wasn't any better than Balogun. But it was good to see Tyler Adams come in the last 15, 20 minutes of the game, because I really do think we missed some from just the heartbeat of the team.
All right, let's hear what Greg Berhalter, the U.S. head coach, had to say after the match as the United States drew 1-1 with Brazil.
We talked to the guys before the game, and we just asked 2 things of them. We asked for teamwork and intensity. And the way we framed it is 2 things that are totally in their control, right? It doesn't matter about the opponent, doesn't matter about the field or the fans or anything. Those are 2 things that they can control. And that's the type of effort that we saw today. The boys certainly delivered on that, and that was good. We feel like we made a little step. It's not a huge step, but it's a little step to be able to play against a amazingly talented Brazil team and bend but not break. And I think give them problems as well, push them as well. So for us, looking at it, we think it's a good end to our preparation camp, and we're ready for Copa America.
All right, that's Greg Berhalter after the United States 1-1 draw with Brazil. Mauricio, what do you think the United States got out of that, and did the team earn more lasting impact from that, or was it a bigger performance for Greg Berhalter after the 5-1 loss?
No, I think the team had a lot to prove to themselves as well. I think they restored a little bit of faith and confidence in themselves, and I think the Colombia game will stick to their heads as far as maintaining humility and respecting your opponent. And so I think you could have beating Brazil, maybe you would have flipped back to overconfident. So just a good, solid performance in tying Brazil, bending but not breaking, as you mentioned, knowing that you can grind out results and you can still be a team kind of that has that American spirit of just being difficult and being hard to break down. But at the same time, creating those opportunities as we did create, and Pulisic had to be fair, if it wasn't for Allison's save in the end of the second half, Pulisic had a chance to put us up 2-1, and would have really, proven to be a deserving goal, because you deserve to defend really, really tight and go out on a break and create those chances in behind. So it would have been a deserving goal, even though, Brazil's possession was overwhelmingly more positive. But I think it was for both. I think it was certainly a performance. I don't put this on Greg. I think Greg takes a lot of criticism, and some of them are deservingly so. But I think the players just need to be more consistent, and they need to perform given the opportunity. And Matt Turner, once again, Brazil's goal came off of a mistake from his foot, and 3 of the goals against Colombia were similar. Yeah. They came off of mistakes from the build-up phase, and a lot of them went through Matt Turner. I do think they avoided overplaying through Matt this last game, which was a little bit better. They played more through the 6s and the fullbacks, so didn't put Matt in too much trouble, because he's not brilliant with his foot. With his feet, he's okay. So I think the players had a lot more to prove, and some of the adjustments were really well done in protecting yourself and being a little bit safer.
All right, let's look ahead to the Copa America. Sunday, the group stage begins for the U.S. against Bolivia. Then the following Thursday, that's a week from this Thursday, it will be USA-Panama, and then likely the toughest of the group stage matches, Uruguay as the final matchup. If I had to pin you down right now, what kind of results are you expecting in the group stage for the United States?
Yeah, I think if we can get to Uruguay and getting 2 wins against 2 teams that, once again, you respect your opponent always, but I would expect for the U.S. to be Bolivia and Panama. Panama being a known opponent. Panama's a tough team, but they're much tougher playing in Panama than playing in the U.S. I expect the Panama game to feel like a bit of an away crowd as well. There's a lot of Panamanians that are proud, and they'll be here in the U.S., so a bit of like a divided stadium. But overwhelmingly, it should be a very American crowd against Bolivia. So you should be confident to come out of, if we do what we're supposed to do, come out of those first two games with 2 results, which I think automatically puts us through. Then the Uruguay game becomes top of the group, right?
Yep.
And then you really do want to finish top of the group. So then you get the second place in the other group, because the last thing you want to do is falter when you had an opportunity to finish top of the group, and now you're getting maybe Brazil, maybe Colombia again, or Argentina. So the Uruguay game will be, I think it's too early to talk about Uruguay, because the build-up of the first 2 games will determine a lot of how we look against Uruguay. But I think it's a doable. Uruguay's flying right now as well in South American World Cup with Bielsa as their coach. As we know, Bielsa is a very pragmatic and a very intense-based coach. It's hot in the U.S. The humidity will be in effect for everybody playing. Right here in Nashville, just as a sidebar, Cole, I've never been at a soccer youth event where they have to give 2 water breaks per half. So 4 water breaks in total plus a halftime. It's been brutally hot this week, and it's not going to get any cooler in the next couple of weeks. I know the games are spread out around the country, but anywhere from in the South Belt, if you would, it's going to be really, really warm, and that will have an impact in the performance in the games.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Becky Burleigh is going to join us. We're going to talk more about Copa America. We're going to talk about the USL Super League TV deal, talk about how teams are building their rosters, and more. And we'll tell you how you can get buy one, get one free beers at our watch parties at Grace Note Brewing coming up. That's straight ahead as we continue on right here on the Sporting JAX Soccer Hour on 1010XL.
I'm Paul Pozlesny, and you're listening to the best Jaguars coverage in Jacksonville on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
International soccer returns this summer. Don't miss your chance to see teams from the biggest league in the world in Jacksonville as they compete for the Stateside Cup. Be there when Premier League clubs Wolves and West Ham take the pitch July 27th at Everbank Stadium, home of the Jaguars. With the series trophy on the line, competition will be fierce. Tickets on sale now for as low as $35 at statesidecup.com.
International soccer returns this summer. Don't miss your chance to see teams from the biggest league in the world in Jacksonville as they compete for their first trophy of the season, the Stateside Cup. Be there when Premier League clubs Wolves and West Ham take the pitch July 27th at Everbank Stadium, home of the Jaguars. With the series trophy on the line, competition will be fierce. Tickets on sale now for as low as $35. Buy your tickets today at statesidecup.com.
Hello. Every great call comes to you on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Just pick up your telephone and dial.
Listen for great phone interviews all day on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
We'll talk on the phone.
On 1010XL.
Calling all disc golf enthusiasts. Play It Again Sports Jacksonville wants your used discs. Now through June 29th, earn cash on the spot plus $5 in sports bucks for every $25 of disc golf gear we buy. Play It Again Sports also stocks new discs from your favorite brands like Innova, Discraft, Discmania, and more. Stop in today and shop our huge selection. Merrill Road near 295 in the Merrill Station Shopping Plaza or online at playitagainjax.com.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting.
Kick it here with Zero Res. If you're like me, you like to sit on the sofa and recliners and watch a good game or show. You know, unwind down from the day. But sometimes TV time means food, drink, and a mess as well. That's why you need to have the Zero Res truck out and get that furniture looking great again. All of June, Zero Res offering 25% off all upholstery cleaning, 25% off a sectional, off a sofa, 25% off a love seat, 25% off your favorite recliner. Zero Res, man. You spell it forward, you spell it backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Hey there, this is Jeremy Baker inviting you to Grace Note Brewing. We're a brand new music-themed, family-friendly craft brewery that specializes in offering something for everyone, whether that's the Jam ESB, the Berry Tone Fruited Sour, or the Enharmonic IPA. We are located at the Sadler Point Marina, underneath the Roosevelt Bridge between Avondale and Ortega. You can even get to us by boat. Come check us out in person and stay tuned through social media at Grace Note Brewing. Cheers, everyone.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. The Sporting JAX Soccer Hour on 1010XL AM.
As we continue on here on the Sporting JAX Soccer Hour, a reminder that we will be hosting watch parties for the Copa America at Grace Note Brewing under the Roosevelt Bridge between Avondale and Ortega, starting June 23rd for the United States' first matchup against Bolivia. If you are a season ticket depositor, if you've already put your deposits down for season tickets for Sporting JAX, you'll get buy one, get one free beers at Grace Note Brewing during the course of the watch parties. How do you become a Sporting JAX season ticket depositor? Simply go to sportingjax.com, and you can put your deposit down, $25 for the men's or the women's team, $40 for both. And that is just one of the many benefits of being a Sporting JAX season ticket depositor. All right, welcome back. We've got Mauricio Ruiz on the line, and now it's my great pleasure to welcome in Becky Burleigh, who I haven't talked to in minutes since we recorded our TV show earlier today. It'll be seen Wednesday at noon on ABC 25. Becky, hello.
Hello. Good to hear you again.
We started out before the Gators, or as the Gators were starting their baseball game, and I took her away from it for half an hour for a TV show. Then she got to get back and watch the Gators win. All right, let's talk about some things here. Starting first with the USL Super League TV deal. Mauricio and I were talking about how much of a boon this is for the USL Super League to be on a streaming service that already has the Premier League streaming on that service. So it really should explode the USL Super League onto a whole new group of fans and give a remarkable amount of exposure in the first year of this league.
No doubt. And even for me, from a fan experience part, I just am so excited to have everything in one place. It's going to be so awesome to be able to see any game I want and know exactly where I need to go. And just the future opportunities that this deal accords us, I think is amazing. So really excited for it.
Mauricio was chiming in earlier as well about that, but I want to get both of you chiming in on this next topic with the USL Super League, which is the way that teams are building rosters right now. Becky, you and I were talking a little bit about how different the different clubs are approaching things in terms of the numbers and sort of the quality in some regards, or the experience of the players they're adding to these rosters as the season approaches. We are now exactly 2 months away from the kickoff of the USL Super League, and some of these teams have much more built-out rosters now than others.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And you wonder, are these teams that haven't built their roster out, are they just keeping things close to the vest? Or are they, in fact, haven't built their rosters out? And the ones that have, I mean, it's pretty exciting to see some of the players that have signed. And it's exciting to see teams start to take shape, because now you're seeing some teams that really have gotten deep into their roster building part of it. And I think this is going to be some quality soccer that we're going to see.
Mauricio, what are you thinking?
I tend to think that they do have a trick under their sleeve a little bit, that they're going to make some announcements with this, this summer window, that it's an European summer window. That's the beauty about the USL Super League, that it fits within the world, the world calendar. So right now, there are a lot of free agents around the world that are not playing in NWSL, but are playing on diverse leagues around the world, in Europe primarily. That I do think there's a lot of negotiations that are being done to bring some of these, so potentially some top level players that you may surprise us. Because to your point, Becky, in 2 months away, and not every team has fully built out their roster. Some of them more than others. So what are they waiting for? And I think once a few big dominoes start to fall, you start seeing some more of that kind of, those role players starting to build around some of those dominoes. And I think they're just waiting for those big dominoes to fall to really start complementing the roster.
Becky, am I out of line here to think that there will be some World Cup experienced players, national team, top national team level players who are going to be playing in USL Super League, if not right away, then over the course of the first season?
No, that would not surprise me at all. I think that there are so many people who are looking for opportunity, and this is another opportunity in a different way. And I think it's a really positive opportunity when people look at the markets that these teams are in. They look at how the rosters are being built out. I mean, how could you not be at least attracted to look and decide? And that's why I think this first year is so interesting, because it's probably not going to necessarily be, okay, here's the roster in August and this is what we're looking at. Like, what does it look like down the road too? That's what's going to intrigue everyone.
Yeah, I really am. I am so intrigued by the mechanics of the schedule, because this is the first time that I'm aware of in American soccer that there's going to be a team playing on the FIFA calendar, and having the opportunity in December, January, before the season restarts in February, to reload the roster or to address some areas of need. And as you know, from having started the Gators program from the ground up, you might think you know what you have at the beginning, but you might have a whole different expectation once you get 6 weeks into the season and say, boy, we really do. We're better here than I thought we were going to be, but we're not where I thought we were going to be at this position or in this skill or what have you. That's going to allow for these teams to restock the cupboard after that midseason break.
And not only that, I think what happens is as you see players commit to a certain team, that makes other dominoes fall, as you mentioned. And sometimes you have to wait for those things to happen. And it's hard because you want to be so patient in your roster building, but you also know that some things can't precede other things. And so how does that work in terms of when players actually commit, and what does that do to other players being more willing to commit? I think that's what we're going to all find out.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Mauricio, I know you're obviously looking very closely at the U.S. youth national team on the boys' side. What kind of conversation is there, if any, about the soccer circles in which you're running, about where the Super League is heading this year?
Well, I'll tell you what, even though I'm mostly on the boys' side at the event that I'm here in Nashville, but it's no longer an introduction of what the Super League is. It's a pretty well-educated crowd now in the soccer sphere. And even though most are on the men's side, they do have their counterpart on the women's side. And so when I do, share with folks kind of, that we're an expansion franchise in the USL, and then they're always like, giving me League One or Championship? Oh, we're going to be Championship and also Super League. They're like, oh, you guys are doing Super League as well. It's no longer of what is Super League. What is that going to be? Oh, there's another women's league. Everybody's pretty familiar with the fact that the Super League is going to be launching in August. With 8 teams, there's a little bit of education where the markets are, which is normal. But there's a natural intrigue and excitement and a little bit of curiosity too. And I think there's curiosity for all of us. It's a league with no salary cap, and it's a new league. So some of these rosters, how they're building, what's the standard? What are the benchmarks? And to your point, you don't know what you have until you kind of have your team together. So I think there's just a lot of curiosity in what's happening in women's soccer in the U.S., in soccer in general, with everything that's going on with the new teams. And I mean, League One is just popping up new teams like mushrooms, left and right. It's unbelievable. And the Super League just has its own niche. And I think it's going to be really exciting to get things rolling come August time.
Becky, another thing I wanted to touch on here is a little shocking. I don't know, shocking maybe too strong a word for it, but a surprising ramping up by FIFA of maternity rights now, where they have grown these where for women's soccer players, coaches, who get pregnant, or their partner is pregnant, or they're adopting, what have you, that the very robust maternity leave opportunities. You can't lose your job as a result of this. You continue to get paid 2/3 of your salary while you're on this maternity leave, which could last, as long as 14 weeks. Really a progressive move here that FIFA has signed off on.
And who would ever put progressive and FIFA in the same sentence?
Yeah, no kidding.
Especially when it comes to women's football. But I think it's a really bold move, and it's a move in the right direction. And I think it says a lot for where FIFA is positioning women's soccer. There's a lot of places around the world where employment laws cover these things, and there's a lot of places where it doesn't. So to have some kind of a standardized idea of what it looks like for both coaches and players to be able to have some protections around pregnancy or adoptions, I think is a huge step forward.
It certainly is something to watch. I think it's one of those about time kind of things, but it has been something that's been coming for quite a while, and FIFA finally has signed off on it. Becky, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again next week, and we'll see you on TV on Wednesday.
Sounds great.
All right, we'll take a break here as well. Mauricio will rejoin us after the break. Do want to remind you that the Sporting JAX Report airs each week on TV on ABC 25 Wednesdays at noon, with an encore presentation on Saturday at noon, and then also on WJXX.2, that's Comcast 201, First Coast News Plus. You can also see past episodes on the Sporting JAX YouTube page. And you can reserve your seats with Sporting JAX by placing your season ticket deposits now. SportingJax.com, $25 reserves your seats for the season for the men or the women. $40 reserves spots for both seasons. Just go to SportingJax.com now to reserve your spot for the inaugural season. And remember, if you want to win 2 tickets to the Wolves versus West Ham Stateside Cup match at Everbank Stadium, just email us with your pick of who will be the first to score for England against Denmark on Thursday in the Euros. You can email us at contest@sportingjax.com, contest@sportingjax.com. All the correct answers will go into a hat. We'll draw out the winner for a pair of tickets to see the Premier League right here in Jacksonville. When we come back, a little youth soccer. Last week we told you about the Florida Elite women, who are now number 1 in the nation. Florida Elite men are having their best season in quite a while. We'll hear from a couple of key members, including a local star who is looking to divide his way and make his way up in the pathway to the pros. That's coming up after the break. This is the Sporting JAX Soccer Hour on 1010XL.
It's more than a game.
No matter how talented you are, it still comes down to that brotherhood of playing for one another.
1010XL. It's why we play.
Greetings from Jacksonville, the flip side of Florida. Here, you'll find flip-flops and cowboy boots, sushi and soul food, surfers and skaters, Mozart and monster trucks, beachgoers and townies. Find art galleries and city murals, funky neighborhoods, and historic districts. Spend the day on the river or at the beach, in the park or on the trail, at the game or on the green. On the flip side, anything is possible, except running out of things to do. Learn more at visitjacksonville.com.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills. There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances, that's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less.
Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors. Imagine driving a late model Corvette, BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Honda, Chevy, Ford, and more, all at a fraction of the original sticker price. Visit Vaughn Motor Group's indoor showroom and browse a great selection of dream cars that are inspected with warranties. Before you make your next auto purchase, check out Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard or at vaughnmotorgroup.com for a complete inventory listing. If you can dream it, you can drive it at Vaughn Motor Group.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On June 17, 1979, at the U.S. Open, Hale Irwin wins his second Open title, 2 strokes ahead of former champions Jerry Pate and Gary Player.
Bolt City Heating and Air is here to keep you cool this summer. Anytime, any day, whenever you need fast, reliable air conditioning service. Their friendly technicians have fully stocked work vans, so they can get your AC done on-site the same day. Rely on a family-owned, Jacksonville-grown company this summer to keep your home cooling system working smarter, not harder. Experience the bold difference. Visit BoldCityAC.com to schedule your service appointment. BoldCityAC.com.
Hey there, this is Jeremy Baker inviting you to Grace Note Brewing. We're a brand new music-themed, family-friendly craft brewery that specializes in offering something for everyone, whether that's the Jam ESB, the Berry-Tone Fruited Sour, or the Enharmonic IPA. We are located at the Sadler Point Marina, underneath the Roosevelt Bridge between Avondale and Ortega. You can even get to us by boat. Come check us out in person and stay tuned through social media at Grace Note Brewing. Cheers, everyone.
1010XL is presented by Barra & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. It's 60 minutes of soccer. The Sporting JAX Soccer Hour on 1010XL AM.
We welcome you back to the Sporting JAX Soccer Hour. Cole Pepper here. Mauricio Ruiz there. Thanks to Becky Burleigh for also being there and being here for us as we have her each and every week. All right, Mauricio, let's talk a little youth soccer. Last week we were talking about the Florida Elite women's USLW team that is now number 1 in the nation, number 1 power ranking in that league. They're outscoring their opposition by like 60 goals a game, so no surprise there. But the USL2 team is having maybe their best season on the men's side, on the U23s. You've had a chance to see a little bit of what they're doing. This has been quite a season for Florida Elite.
Yeah, it really has. I think when you look at both of the products that they have, the men and the women, I would say that in recent years, and really they've only had that product for about 4 years, I believe, where they've had the USL2 and the W League, maybe 4 to 5 years. So for both teams, the men and the women, to be performing extremely high. Sometimes you kind of get one doing well and the other one not so much. And I think that was the case last year. The guys did pretty well. They finished in the top 3, and the women had a bit of a down year. When that happens, they kind of feed off of each other a little bit. I mean, there's a little bit of a competitive, rivalry between both programs because they train back to back. The girls train at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the boys show up right after. And I think the girls got a little bit of an aura to them now, where the boys really kind of have to, they have to show up. And, in saying that, they've only lost 1 game. They've had a couple ties, but they've only lost 1 game, so they're still doing extremely well. But the young ladies right now, they're absolutely on fire, not just locally, but it's starting to catch some attention. As you mentioned, they're the number 1 ranked team in the nation right now.
All right, let's hear from a couple of the players for the USL2 squad. Again, these are college players, college-age players playing in the summertime in a summer league that is part of the developmental process of working the way up to potentially being professional players. Tristan Adams is the team captain and the center back, big body and a guy who really sets the tone for the team on that back line. And as you mentioned, Mauricio, that they have just 1 loss so far this year. They have the most points in the division. And an opportunity to make a historic season. And here's what Tristan Adams says he's expecting for the rest of the year.
This is exactly what I expected, just the intensity and level of training and just the quality of players and our opponents as well, the quality of the opponents that we play. Goal the rest of the season to continue to be undefeated and hopefully make it to playoffs and win that. We want to go all the way and we want it all.
All right, there is Tristan Adams. A local star on the team is Joey Mueller, who was a star at Creekside. He's just 20 years old and a guy who just keeps coming back to play at Florida Elite, and it's something he says he looks forward to each and every summer.
The reason I stayed in Jacksonville and have trusted the program for so long is because Sean and my other coach, John, the whole time that I was here was just pushing me on, and I felt like I was in good hands. And they built this community around me so that I could push on.
And he's playing his college soccer at UCF. Mauricio knows a thing or two about that. And but he also said something this week that I thought, Mauricio, was very interesting. Listen to this, what Joey Mueller had to say about what it would mean to him to have a pro team come back to Jacksonville.
Sporting JAX is bringing something to this community that we've never seen before. And now I live in Orlando, and I see what a pro team does to the environment. And I've been to Orlando City games. I've seen Tampa Bay Rowdies and seen them up close, and they give kids dreams that we haven't gotten here yet. So I hope that Sporting JAX can come in and hopefully let kids see the dream that's really right in front of them.
It's amazing when you hear from these, college-age players who are thinking about having a professional career on both the men's and the women's side, how much it means to them to have that opportunity to be coming to Jacksonville.
Well, you change the development, plans for them. It's no longer about where can I get that opportunity. It's about proving yourself in your local market and competing locally with other kids. And as an organization, we've spoken to them. We've actually set both of those groups, the men and the boys, together and said, hey, listen, this is a USL product. We want to help you develop, and we want to use this as a showcase. So we're looking and we're evaluating. There's obviously their coaches in their organization and their recruiting and their training takes all of the credit. But there's about a 1% or 2% that them knowing that there's a professional organization looking at them that gives them a little bit of extra, emphasis and a little bit extra oomph as they're getting ready for games and as they're preparing for training. So that's that dream to play professional soccer, that professional sport in general that we all have when we're kids and we're kind of going through our development program. It always seems really far away, right? Where we watch them on TV. Where do I get my chance? How do I get to the next step? What is the pathway? So to have that in your hometown and know that's coming, everyone's going to require a little bit of patience to get to that point, and we're explaining that as we kind of go around and talk to young folks and coaches. But to Joey's words, it's a dream, and it's a dream to be able to provide that for our young community. And in Joey's generation and the generations that will come after that will be impacted, by a lot in their day-to-day and how they're kind of going about their training environment. Because now the opportunity will be right in front of them.
Yeah, and more so even than something like having an NFL team in town for a high school football player who's thinking about, wanting to play professionally someday. The opportunity with a professional soccer team, I think that these kids are going to have the chance to get up close and personal with the pros at a much more intimate level, to watch training, to be able to see how things operate. Part of the way that soccer teams do their business is really about being as ingrained in the community as possible. And I just can't wait to see the first local soccer star here in Jacksonville pull on a Sporting JAX shirt and run out through the tunnel to play a game for the hometown team.
Well, that's exactly it. Every player that we eventually contract, whether they're veterans or young pros, they're going to also need to understand that it's about investing in the community. Being a new product and a new team in town is not like you already have your established fan base and you have your diehards or your people that are grandfathered into the program, or it's about building it. And we want players that understand that they're going to come here to either play their last minutes that they have in their bodies, some veteran players, or use this as an opportunity to improve your game as a young player. And we're going to have some players that are going to be in their prime that are really going to be looking to showcase themselves onto their national teams and potentially into European clubs, as we talked about before. But all of them will need to understand that this is about reinvesting in the community. It's about getting out there and doing coaching clinics, doing coaching education, doing community outreach programs, investing in our youth, to make sure that they can see who the players that they're going to be supporting, and really not just have the name on the back of the jersey, but know their faces and know their voices. It's going to be so important that players that we bring here aren't only talented, aren't just really good professionals, but are really, really good people. So it's not really even an ask. It's a desire that they have to give back to the community. Because I guarantee you, along the way of every single pro, in really any profession, but certainly in sports, because it's a really difficult space to kind of break into, someone had an impact on them that was already playing in front of them and paved the way. And we want to make sure that our men and women on our professional teams are doing that for the local community.
Yeah, that's a great way to leave it. Mauricio, thank you so much. Safe travels back to Jacksonville. Look forward to seeing you in the office. And then again for the Sporting Pod on Thursday. If you're not already listening to our podcast, the Sporting Pod, available anywhere you find your finer podcast. Mauricio Ruiz, Tony Allegretti, and I have you each and every week. That'll do it for this installment of the Sporting JAX Soccer Hour. Our thanks to producer RJ Saunders and for Casey Dobson today. Great job there, RJ. For Becky Burleigh, for Mauricio Ruiz, Tristan Adams, and Joey Mueller of Florida Elite, I'm Cole Pepper saying thanks for listening to the Sporting JAX Soccer Hour.